Showrooms sell you a feeling. Real life sells you repair bills. And the gap between those two often begins with the kitchen design decisions that this video will point out. You'd be awesome if you liked this video. 1. Weak ventilation. There's one thing in the kitchen that I almost always check first when advising on renovations, even though homeowners never ask about it. Not the countertops, not the cabinets, not the lighting, it's the range hood. And the reason I check it first is because it's the only thing in the kitchen where, if you choose the wrong one, there's no way to fix it by buying more or replacing materials. The problem of poor ventilation doesn't appear immediately. It accumulates very slowly in a way that homeowners hardly notice until it's too late. After a few months, the cabinets near the stove start to feel slightly sticky to the touch. The smell of last night's food still lingers in the air the next morning. The glass near the stove fogs up a bit faster. And even though the countertops have been cleaned, the kitchen doesn't feel truly airy. In homes with open kitchens connected to the living room, poor ventilation affects the entire main living space, not just the kitchen. Grease and food odors start to spread to the sofa, curtains, and dining area more than people realize. This is why some homes look beautiful but always feel a bit stuffy when you spend a long time inside. The most common mistake isn't choosing an ugly range hood, but rather choosing one that looks nice but isn't powerful enough, or only recirculates air inside instead of venting it completely outside. Before deciding, there are 3 questions to ask the contractor. Does this range hood vent outside or recirculate internally? What is the suction power in cubic feet per minute? And is the depth of the range hood sufficient to cover the entire kitchen counter? The answers to those 3 questions are more important than any other aesthetic parameters. The next design decision affects every activity in the kitchen, but most homeowners only realize the inconvenience after a few months of living there. 2. Fully open kitchen without a visual break. Last year, I advised a family whose home had a completely open kitchen seamlessly connected to the living and dining areas, a very popular layout. After 8 months, the husband called me and said something I think many homeowners feel but don't know how to express. He said he never felt a break from the kitchen, whether he was sitting on the sofa or entertaining guests. His eyes were always focused on what was happening in the kitchen, and his brain never truly left that space. This is precisely the problem that completely open kitchens create, but few people address it directly in showrooms. Without any visual boundaries between the kitchen and living space, everything in the kitchen is constantly visible. The piles of dishes in the sink, the unstored appliances, the messy countertops while cooking, everything becomes part of the main living space. Small kitchen clutter is magnified far more than when there are walls or cabinets separating it. The noise is also something that surprises many people. Blender, range hood, running water, and the sounds of cabinets opening and closing echo throughout the main living area. One person cooking means the whole family can hear the kitchen in operation. The solution isn't to revert to a completely enclosed kitchen. A taller cabinet wall creates a more effective visual boundary than simply using a larger kitchen island, as it effectively blocks the view from both standing and seated positions. Differences in lighting between areas also create a subtle sense of separation without altering the architecture. 3. Double island. 2 parallel islands look extremely impressive in model homes. One side for prep, one side for breakfast seating, more counter space, and the feel of a professional hosting kitchen. I understand why many homeowners want that. The problem is that the space between the 2 islands often becomes a bottleneck whenever more than one person is in the kitchen at the same time. When the dishwasher is open, a person pulls out a chair, or someone stands prepping in the middle of the walkway, the kitchen starts to feel cramped despite its large square footage. This is the kind of discomfort that doesn't appear during a model home tour because at that time, only 2 people are standing and looking, not an entire family cooking dinner. What I see even more frequently is that the second island rarely becomes a prep zone as originally planned. After a few months, it gradually turns into a landing spot for grocery bags, unopened mail, and a variety of items not yet put away. Consequently, the kitchen loses its sense of tidiness faster than people think. A single island that is carefully calculated for real needs is often much more efficient. Deep drawers for pots and pans, a pull-out trash bin, sufficient seating, and a countertop wide enough for actual prep. The extra square footage, instead of being used for a second island, is often more effective when converted into a walk-in pantry or a dedicated beverage station. One important technical note: a minimum 42-inch clearance around the island is a figure many blueprints meet on paper, but fail in reality when chairs are pulled out or the dishwasher doors open at the same time. The next feature is the reason an outstandingly beautiful kitchen on day 1 turns into a disaster after a month, despite having nothing to do with materials or colors. 4. Lack of storage in the right places. Many kitchens look perfect on completion day. The countertops are spotless, no appliances are visible, and everything is as neat as a showroom. Then, about a month after moving in, the toaster starts getting cluttered. The air fryer is taking up space. Cereal containers, vitamins, and a host of other small items start appearing everywhere. That's when homeowners realize the biggest problem with a kitchen isn't aesthetics, but a lack of storage in the right places. What makes this mistake so frustrating is that it quickly ruins the overall feel of the kitchen. As soon as the countertops start getting cluttered, the space immediately loses the airy and tidy feel the homeowner enjoyed when renovating. The most common mistake isn't a lack of storage space in general, but rather that the storage isn't in the right place. The pantry is in the furthest corner of the kitchen, while the stovetop is in another corner. The coffee maker is used every morning, but there's no power outlet near it. The trash can isn't near the preparation area, so every time you need to throw away trash, you have to take a few extra steps. Good designers often plan storage before choosing materials. Deep drawers for pots and pans are more efficient than cabinets with deep shelves that are difficult to access. Tall cabinets make much better use of wall height. A hidden trash can near the preparation area is almost something homeowners who have used it don't want to go back to. But remember one thing from this. Plan storage before choosing materials. Once the blueprints are finished, changing the location of drawers or electrical outlets costs 3 to 4 times as much as deciding that from the beginning. 5. Kitchen without an appliance garage. I've seen this happen enough times to be blunt. Homeowners spend a lot of money on beautiful stone countertops, custom cabinets, and perfect lighting. Then, 6 months after moving in, the most beautiful part of the countertop is completely obscured by a coffee maker, a toaster, and an air fryer. Not because the homeowner is untidy, but because there's nowhere to store them. The kitchen loses its premium feel not because of poor quality materials, but because everyday appliances are constantly appearing on the countertop. And this happens very slowly. At first, it was just the coffee maker because they use it every morning. Then the toaster was added. Then the air fryer. Before you know it, the previously empty countertop space has become a display area for appliances. The hidden appliance area solves that problem perfectly. It's a corner cabinet with sliding or hinged doors that have built-in power outlets, is tall enough for a coffee maker, and is deep enough for an air fryer. When not in use, close the door, and the countertop is completely empty. When needed, open it, and the appliance is ready without having to move it in and out. A key point in planning is determining which appliances are used daily and which are only used occasionally. Daily appliances need power outlets inside the hidden area, so you don't have to unplug them every time you use them. Occasional appliances only need storage space and don't require a permanent power outlet. This distinction determines whether the hidden area is truly used or simply becomes an extra cabinet in the kitchen. Hiding appliances helps keep countertops tidy, but the next luxury tech feature is a visual trick that makes you tired every time you cook. 6. Island with integrated invisible induction. A homeowner called me 8 months after completing her new kitchen. She had chosen an induction system hidden under the stone countertop because it looked incredibly impressive in the showroom, and she wanted the island to double as a workspace when not cooking. The problem she called to discuss wasn't aesthetics. It was that every time her hands were greasy or wet during cooking, the sensor through the thick stone layer became less responsive, and she had to press it repeatedly. And once, she accidentally moved a pot slightly off the cooking zone while stirring, and the stove shut off without her knowing until the food had completely cooled. That is an everyday problem, but the bigger risk lies in future repair costs. Because the countertop is subjected to constant thermal expansion and contraction, if after a few years the stone material has hidden air pockets, or the installation wasn't up to standard, cracks can appear around the cooking zone. When the electrical system underneath has an issue or the stone surface is damaged, you almost have to remove the entire slab to fix it. It cannot be handled individually. Before deciding, there are 2 questions to ask the contractor. What temperature rating is the countertop material certified for? And what is the warranty process if the stone has issues after 2 years? If the contractor cannot answer those 2 questions specifically, that is a sign to reconsider the decision. 7. Over-the-range microwave. When someone enters a kitchen, the first thing they see isn't the countertop or cabinets. It's the cooking area. This should ideally be the most aesthetically pleasing and tidy focal point of the entire space. However, in many modern kitchens, the centerpiece is a large appliance with numerous buttons, screens, and a plastic grill underneath. This alone detracts from the kitchen's overall appearance, even if everything else is aesthetically pleasing. A more practical issue lies in its ventilation capabilities. Most of these types of microwaves aren't powerful enough to handle grease and cooking odors with regular use. It's hard to notice at first, but after a few months, the cabinets near the stove start to accumulate a thin layer of grease, food odors linger longer, and the kitchen no longer feels as airy as before. The solution is simpler than many people think. A drawer-style microwave placed in a kitchen island or a microwave hidden in a tall cabinet significantly improves space efficiency. The area above the stove should be reserved for a powerful range hood that effectively vents the cooking area. This is an upgrade whose value many homeowners only understand after they start cooking daily meals in their own kitchens. Next is the most expensive item in the showroom that turns into a cleaning nightmare in real life. Yet most homeowners only realize it after installation is complete. 8. High-gloss dark countertops. I often suggest homeowners do a simple test before choosing a high-gloss dark kitchen countertop. Turn on the under-cabinet lights in the evening, place a damp paper towel on a sample surface, and wipe it. The result is often something that makes many people change their minds immediately because the wipe marks are more visible than the original stains. The high-gloss dark countertop looks impressive when new, but the highly reflective surface magnifies everything under kitchen lights: watermarks near the sink, fingerprints around the preparation area, and uneven wipe marks. Not because the countertop is dirty, but because it doesn't forgive any traces of daily life. What many homeowners don't anticipate is the level of mental maintenance this type of countertop requires. Not more wiping, but a constant feeling that the countertop isn't clean enough even after wiping. That feeling accumulates over time, and the kitchen gradually becomes a place of stress instead of relaxation. Matte surfaces or lightly textured stone in warm, neutral tones are often much easier to live with while still creating visual depth. What looks more ordinary in a showroom is often what homeowners are more pleased with after years of real-world use. 9. Textured backsplash that is hard to clean. Grease from cooking doesn't splatter in a way you can control. It gets into every little crevice, accumulates around every textured surface, and gradually forms a buildup that can't be completely wiped away with a regular cloth. I advised a homeowner whose kitchen backsplash had a beautiful handcrafted textured stone surface. But after only 6 months of actual cooking, she started using an old toothbrush to clean every little crevice every weekend. That's not an experience anyone wants in their kitchen. What frustrated the homeowner wasn't the dirty backsplash itself, but the fact that it never looked truly clean. Under the under-cabinet lights at night, the slightly greasy areas were much more noticeable than during the day. Large, smooth-surfaced backsplashes, matte glazed tiles, or light-colored Zelligent tiles still create visual depth, but are significantly easier to maintain. If you still want to use textured material, a safer approach is to use it as a small accent in the least grease-exposed area instead of cladding the entire back wall. There is one color decision that millions of homeowners want to change because it creates a cold feeling at exactly the most important gathering time of the day. 10. All-white cold-toned kitchen. I received a message from a homeowner last year, along with a photo of her all-white kitchen at night. She simply wrote, "It looks like a clinic." It's not that the kitchen is worse. It's just that the evening lights reflect off the cold white surfaces in a way that daylight never reveals. And the kitchen is where the family gathers in the evening, not at noon. At night, the cold light reflecting off the white surfaces makes the space feel more like a lab than a family gathering place. Many homeowners describe this feeling with the same word: sterile. The kitchen looks nice, but it doesn't inspire a desire to linger. Because everything is so light, the kitchen exaggerates every sign of daily use. Fingerprints around cabinet handles, light grease stains near the stovetop, or watermarks near the sink are all much more noticeable than in a warmer-toned kitchen. The solution isn't to remove the white, but to whiten it in a warmer way. Creamy white, ivory white, or a soft, warm beige makes kitchen lighting noticeably softer. Simply switching to warm white lights around 2,700 Kelvin to 3,000 Kelvin can instantly make many cool white kitchens feel more relaxing and warm in the evening without changing any materials. 11. Handleless cabinets. Handleless kitchen cabinets create a very special feeling at first glance. The cabinet surfaces run seamlessly, uninterrupted by metal fittings, and the entire space has a minimalist feel, almost like a high-end showroom. But a kitchen isn't a showroom, and that difference starts to become very clear after a few months of living in it. The kitchen is a place where things happen very quickly. Hands are wet from washing vegetables. One hand is holding a hot pan. Another is retrieving items from storage. At such times, having to find the right point to open a cabinet starts to feel much less natural than with a simple handle. It's the kind of small inconvenience that isn't serious enough to hate, but is repeated enough times each day to significantly detract from the comfortable kitchen experience. The cabinet surfaces also lose their pristine look much faster than many people realize. Frequently touched areas start to become shiny, especially on dark matte cabinets. Fingerprints appear constantly in the most frequently used areas. Ironically, the more minimalist the kitchen, the more noticeable these small marks become. Many designers today are moving towards practical minimalism rather than absolute minimalism. Ultra-thin handles or recessed cabinet edges almost retain a modern feel, but are far easier to use in practice. If you still want a full push and pull system, ask the contractor 2 questions before signing the contract. What is the maximum load capacity of the hinges, and what is the warranty period for the mechanism? Push and pull systems on heavy cabinets with cheap hinges often lose accuracy after 1 to 2 years. And that problem never arises in showrooms because showroom cabinets are never actually used. 12. Pot filler. A homeowner once showed me his newly renovated kitchen and was very proud of the water pump installed directly above the stovetop. He explained that he no longer needed to carry heavy pots of water from the sink to the stove. I asked him, "So, what do you do when a pot of pasta is boiling and you need to empty it?" He paused for a moment and said he hadn't thought about that. That's precisely the problem the water pump doesn't solve. Pouring water into a pot is never the hardest part of cooking. The real difficulty is having to carry the pot back to the sink to empty it while it's hot and heavy. Many homeowners almost forget about its existence after a few months and continue to use the sink as before. Technical risks are also worth considering. This is an additional water line directly above the stovetop and the wall behind it. If a small leak appears after a few years, that location is almost certainly the worst place for water to silently seep into the wall or down behind the stove. And these kinds of problems often go undetected early on. Instead of investing in that feature, a larger sink capable of handling large pots or a good extension faucet with stronger water pressure would make a much bigger real difference in daily life. The final feature on this list is sweeping across every modern kitchen. Yet it's the one homeowners regret the most after just a few months of living in it. 13. Open shelving everywhere. Open shelving boomed for a very understandable reason. They make kitchens look lighter and airier and feel like the boutique kitchens on social media. When upper cabinets disappear, the entire space opens up immediately, and the kitchen feels decorated rather than just a place to cook. Then real life begins. I worked with a family where the wife loved open shelving and decided to replace all upper cabinets with open shelves during a kitchen renovation. After 3 months, she called me, not to complain about aesthetics, but to ask how to calculate the cost of reinstalling cabinets. The reason wasn't that the shelves looked bad. It was that every weekend she had to wipe every glass, every bowl, and the shelves themselves because the layer of airborne grease in the kitchen stuck to everything that didn't have a door to cover it. Kitchens produce much more airborne grease than people think. Hot steam, grease, and fine dust from cooking settle on every exposed surface every day. This means not only do the shelves have to be wiped frequently, but every item on them does as well. The solution is not to completely abandon open shelving, but to reduce it to its proper role as an accent. A short section of shelving near a window or a coffee corner is much more effective than replacing all upper cabinets with open shelves. Glass door cabinets or light-colored cabinets still give a similar visual lightness but are much easier to live with long-term. If you are preparing to renovate your kitchen, ask one question before choosing any feature. How many times per week will I use this, and how will I clean it? The answer to that question will eliminate most of the decisions you would regret later.